Balkan video games were different by living ironically in Europe. Not unironically, ironically. Yeah, we're gonna look at this. I have no idea about Balkan video games. I'm gonna peace out. Take care, butter. Have a nice rest of your day. Yeah, I have no idea. We're gonna look at this. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. Let's see what the Balkans
Video games.
What the Balkans had is video games. At least, right? We know of Balkan racism. Now we're gonna learn of Balkan video games.
If there's anything that can overarchingly unify every group of people in the world, then that would have to be video games, as every person from the far-reaching prairies
His avatar has his mascot, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's not safe.
of the United States to the concrete jungles of Japan spent their childhood playing video games, and the Balkans are no exception. However, unlike much of the West and developed world, things were a bit different. During
The West and the developed world. Was that a dig at the Balkans not being developed at that time?
the 80s, 90s, and arguably early 2000s, when most of us were growing up, in the West, one of the main video game producers for kids was Nintendo. And many of you watching from the US most likely have fond memories of playing Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, Donkey Kong, and many other classics. Yet, in the Balkans, this wasn't the case. If you've been a long-time viewer of this channel, you're aware that here we had this little thing called communism that basically deemed us as retarded for a good half of the 20th century, and
Understandable. Communism. Understandable. Yeah, you got cooked for a while. You got cooked for a while.
essentially isolated us from the international community because our dear leaders cared more about being in a leftist book club rather than decent living standards, which impacted the amount of money people had to spend on essential goods such as food, clothes, and video games. As such,
Yeah, remember, the people during the hyperinflation in Germany had probably a lot of fun back in the Dark Ages as well, I could imagine, right? Where you had to pay like millions for eggs. Huh.
mainstream video games popular in the West were practically non-existent in the Balkans. What's more, they were even seen as extreme luxuries that either only the wealthiest member of Balkan society or people with relatives abroad had. After socialism crumbled and the free market started to be embraced in the late 90s and early 2000s, consumer-grade electronics finally started to make their way to the peninsula. But because of the significantly lower amounts of disposable income, a lot of families could only afford second-hand computers imported from Germany or PCs with really weak computing power. Even so, few families even possessed one. This ultimately impacted what games became popular amongst the kids in the Balkans. A lot of games that were popular usually came pre-installed on the computer, such as the classics that were disposable in the West, such as Space Cadet 3D, a digital pinball game, and Minesweeper.
I have played this game. I have played this game around that time. Absolutely, 100% this type of pinball. Yeah, I've played it. That was good times. Good times. Not the dark, the bright days, not the dark days. Good times.
aka Boss in Life Simulator. However, there were others that somehow every Balkan PC magically had pre-installed on it, such as Stress Relief, which was an app that allowed the player to pick a variety of tools from a hammer, chainsaw, machine gun, flamethrower, and termite hand, to name a few, and then use them to destroy the Windows XP default background.
What? That's pretty silly, but hey, whatever floats people's boats. So I don't know how to play this Minesweeper. Me neither. I'm just too stupid. I'm just too dumb. I'm just really stupid. I still can't play it. I get it. Phaser, hammer, chainsaw, machine gun, flamethrower, color thrower, phaser, stamp, termites. Fucking termites. Washing.
Another one was Zuma, which had graphics that resembled one of a slot machine game more than one for kids, where the player took control of a frog that would
I have played this one as well. I played a lot of these, like these games, right? I played a lot of them. There was also one called Karu as well that I played. I played a lot of these back in the day, and I got really, really far. It's horrible. I've got really, really far.
Spit out different colored balls and have to match 3 of the same color in a row of balls that were heading to a hole before they reached it and cleared the map. As technology became more widespread and video games became more popular amongst the youth, more games also started to get played. However, at this point, the availability of computers and the internet was still quite limited, so games that would be obtained were very small regarding their needs of storage space and computing power. So the way new games would be obtained was via a couple of ways. One of them involved going to a video game shop. Now, in the West this was usually a GameStop or some other equivalent, but here, game shops were usually integrated in a computer repair shop, which was run by some middle-aged computer nerd who would be one of the few people in town with internet access who'd pirate a shit ton of games and then burn them on these thick CDs, which had custom printed
Yeah. Anybody remember burning? Like everybody remember that? That was something that was pretty common back then still. Lord of the Rings, War of the Ring, never played that. Obviously Tomb Raider, a classic.
Covers, which you could choose from a catalog lying on the counter. A lot of the time, the clerk would also provide you with a sheet of paper that had written instructions on how to crack the game as well. If your parents couldn't afford that, then one of your friends could. So then they'd give you a flash drive with the game, which was passed around school more than Riley Reid in a single shoot, and the games on it would eventually make their way onto the computers in the school's IT lab. In this time period, one of the most popular games that every single Slav watching will have an attack of nostalgia from just mentioning was Heroes 3. I don't think anybody can forget the unskippable cutscene at full volume you had to sit through when you first opened the game on a fresh computer, giving away your
Yep. You have alerted the horde. Yeah, true. Don't remind me, Poke. I feel old. Oh yeah, the burn, the scratches. I remember it. No, Unk, yeah, because you're still a baby. That's why you don't know this. The good old time of basically committing piracy.
Location to all IT teachers in a 10-kilometer radius. Essentially, Heroes 3 was a turn-based strategy game where you could control one of 9 factions that consisted of fantasy creatures who'd be at war against one another. To influence the outcome of battle alongside controlling your units, you could also cast spells such as Armageddon and completely nuke the entire map. Another franchise that, alongside being popular in the Balkans, was also popular in the West was GTA, in particular GTA Vice City and San Andreas. Like the majority of my peers, one of my earliest memories was of me and my 6-year-old cousin utilizing cheat codes we kept in a notebook to summon a tank and just rampage.
Real. I played so much, I played a lot of Vice City. A lot of Heroes 3 Supremacy. Bro is in nostalgia right now. Bro is old. Heroes 3, Warcraft 3, and Age of Empires 2 were always magically on PCs back in the day. I remember when my brother got a laptop. It just had Age of Empires. It just had Age of Empires. I've played these 2 at least. Still a baby.
The city and see how many stars we could get in GTA. I don't think anyone who played this in the Balkans as a kid even was aware that there were an actual story or campaign in these games, and everyone just went driving around cars like maniacs and shooting innocent bystanders. What made going around driving in Vice City and San Andreas and committing heinous crimes against humanity so fun was also the radio, which, oh my god, had some of the best tracks like or which no video game has ever been able to replicate since. However, it could have been made even better if at the time I had a pair of Raycon earbuds, baby! Okay, listen, I have to be completely honest. When I found out
Raycon, horrible. Age of Empire always choose the Aztecs. I just like ran I don't even know what I ran. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. I'll take Vice City's better than San Andreas. True. 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 Yeah, I remember playing Heroes 3 and getting a sort of Armageddon, and then just winning the game with barely an army. Crazy.
Raycon wanted to sponsor my channel, I nearly screamed out of joy like a 13-year-old anime schoolgirl. I've unironically always wanted to try them out, as I've only ever heard good things.
I will steal this seal plush from you, or pillow. I don't care. I will steal it from you. I don't care about the Raycon. I will get this, and there's nothing you or anybody on this planet can do about it. I will get this fat fucking boy from you. Wherever you are, I will find you. Like the German Financial Institute. They also find you. They even know when your cousin 10th grade has a tomato stand somewhere in Peru.
From people about them, and that's for a good reason, because holy shit are they good.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice.
The audio quality on these bad boys is impeccable.
That's bloody lovely.
I used to own several 100 to 200 euro earbuds, and for much less, Raycon are at a much better level. Besides,
Are the people actually subscribed for the content or just for the girl? Whoever designed this character, his mascot, whatever you want to call it, cooked. Absolutely cooked.
Besides that, they also have hella useful features like noise cancellation, awareness mode, multi-point connectivity, bass boosted mode, and of course a slick design with an even better case. Since getting them, I've been using them daily, especially at my favorite bar where I'd use them while working on videos. They've been literally a game changer, and best of all, my favorite part about
At least they don't look as gay as my Samsung Galaxy earbuds. Just for the girl, I can see it.
them is that they have a 32-hour battery life and a quick charge feature where just in 10 minutes you get 90 minutes of battery life. So even with being sponsored by them, I genuinely have nothing but praise for them and highly recommend you check them out. So go and click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/ironically to get 20 to 40% off your Raycon purchase, plus free shipping.
Bro, as a Asuka plush, true. Asuka is best German anime waifu. Sadly, I'm going to confess to having committed a war crime. I have never watched Evangelion. I have never done it. I think it might be time, but like I've never done it. My bad.
Help support the channel and at the same time get a pair of kicking earbuds. Arguably, some of the most popular games were those in the arcade genre, such as Chicken Invaders, where you controlled a spaceship and were shooting chickens in space, which were dropping eggs on you. Essentially, it was just a bootleg Space Invader.
You what? Chicken Invader? Bootleg Space Invader. That's rather interesting. I did play Space Invader back in the day as well. So, yeah. Anybody else remember the one where you had a gun, right? And you were shooting down chickens as well for points? But like not a bullet hell, more like just like they were just flying across your screen. You had to shoot them down. I forgot what it's called.
Invaders, but you could get some insane power-ups where your bullets could go all over the map, which was just like ecstasy for kids. Another one was the Murhan series, which was a franchise.
Yes! Yes! Mohun! Yes! Peak! Absolutely. Yeah, I played that, by the way, a lot. I played that a lot. You had to just shoot chicken. I don't know. This might have been a psyop to us hating chicken and later eating chicken a lot. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah. The KFC of video games.
Of a variety of different games that also involved chickens. You had your classic Murhan where you clicked on chickens that would pop up to shoot them, but you also had Murhan Racing, which was chickens racing in go-karts. And considering none of us even knew about the existence of Mario Kart, this was the best thing in the entire world. And what's funny about these games was that a lot of them were in German because that's where the PC came from.
I played the Racer. So much.
So, because naturally barely any of the kids spoke German, we'd all just have to instinctively learn what each button did through trial and error. And of course, we can't forget the staple arcade Balkan game, Feeding Frenzy, where the player took control of a fish and would eat other fish in an
I've played that too. I've played that too in similar games. I love these. And then eventually, like, you were just like getting bigger and bigger and badder, and could you eat more?
effort to get bigger and bigger while avoiding bigger fish who would look to eat you, with the final goal becoming so big you can eat a whale. Obscure platformers were also quite popular. One of such games was a 3D platformer Santa Claus in Trouble, which again, somehow 90% of computers had pre-installed already. The players took control of Santa Claus and had to jump on different platforms, avoiding enemies and collecting presents. But although simple and
I have played this one as well. Wow, I'm going down a memory lane before the dark ages.
intended for kids, this game was excruciatingly frustrating as the controls were so painstakingly clunky, and it was an art form itself to learn to control him. But
Guys, I also played a game, right, that had penguins, right? So basically, you had a polar bear and penguins, right? And you basically took control, not really control the penguin, but like you had to launch the penguin as far as possible. And like if you made mistakes, the penguin would just like get like turned to mush, right? They would just like splatter and like is crazy. But you had to get the penguin as far as possible. And I think the head was also it was also able to like get the head severed, and then like you'd still would count it depending on how far the head would fly still. So yeah, I played that as well as a kid. Freaky game.
the main thing that made a game popular in the Balkans was if it had available hot seat and LAN multiplayer capabilities. As I said earlier, the availability of computers was quite limited and not everyone could afford one. So, to play video games, a bunch of kids would gather at one friend's house who had some piece of shit toaster, and then either take turns playing a game.
Fun fact about Doom: they taught human brain cells how to play Doom. The more you know.
Or all of us would use the same keyboard to control our own
You can even play Doom in a capture. Isn't that crazy?
characters. But some of the most popular multiplayer games at the time were especially real-time strategy games like Age of Empires and Age of Mythology, and especially Red Alert and Command & Conquer.
I never played Command & Conquer, but I played a lot of I think I played every single Red Alert. I think Red Alert 3 is the one I played the most. That one was fun.
Generals, which in no way whatsoever could ever be published today, as they had completely non-ethnically motivated Asian and Middle Eastern factions.
China will grow larger.
But amongst them, you also had arguably the best game, Jazz Jackrabbit 2, which brings up so many memories of me and my friends taking control of these two rabbit brothers who run around shooting turtles and monsters while traversing 2D platformers in a mission to save the rabbit princess from the evil Chud turtle who for some reason controls an army of robots and demons and is also a demon himself. The game was so stylized with unique art and sprite movements and had some killer music as well. But the two games that dominated hot seat multiplayer had to be Pocket Tanks and Worms Armageddon. Both games were quite similar, where players took turns to shoot different types of ammo at each other on a large map and also had to strategically position themselves.
Yeah, well, Worms, I think most of us would know what Worms is.
Not to get shot. Personally, my favorite of the two was Worms, as the art style was way more cartoony and you had a larger variety of seemingly more bizarre weapons, some of which could blow up you and the entirety of the map. Truly a masterpiece. As the popularity of video games started to grow, more games also started to be available. This came about.
Yeah, we have to eventually also play Pocket Tanks. We also have to play Sands of Time eventually. Cool to see that here.
In the fruition of PS2 games being adapted for the PC and then sold in grocery stores on a rack near checkout. So a lot of the time parents would buy one of these games on the way back home for their kids, which usually was some kind of Disney game like Tarzan, Toy Story, and Hercules, which holy shit was fun. Everyone I know owned Hercules, and it was genuinely one of the best Disney games hands down. Essentially, it was a mix between a beat-em-up and a platformer, which had different levels based on the movie. But the most infamous of all the Disney games was Aladdin. This one too was a platformer, but the map was so confusing and filled with enemies that it was the Dark Souls of Balkan games, with 99% of my friends claiming they never could go past the first level as kids, as enemies would just kill you with bullshit you had no idea how to overcome. Yet, as time progressed, the internet became more prevalent and available. As such, internet cafes started springing up all over Balkan.
Fun fact, in the initial story, Aladdin was supposed to be 13. The more you know.
Towns. And of course, kids would flock to them in droves, ready to spend their meager lunch money on computer games. At this time, LAN and online multiplayer games really start to get popular. Of course, you can't talk about this time period without mentioning Counter-Strike 1.6. In every internet cafe, this was the hottest shit out there. Hordes of kids would duke it out against one another in the famous DDoS 2 map, and that would spawn a buttload of memes like, "Out my way, son! Door stuck!" At this time, League of Legends came out and instantly became a huge hit all across the ball.
League of Legends came out, and so did more for the unemployment line. Anyways.
I know today that it's a behemoth of a game with a player base with not the greatest reputation. But back in the day, the game looked way more jagged and clunky and was one of the most fun things in the world to play with your friends, as no one took it as seriously and tried to make the most of their time at the internet cafe and then tell the stories of their ridiculous matches next day at school. If competitive games weren't your forte, then naturally you'd play World of Warcraft. Now, again, I know this was quite popular in the West, but the thing is, no one in the Balkans could afford a subscription. So instead, people played a cracked version of the game and also created free and cracked servers to play on, many of which would lack core features of the game, but nevertheless, it was still so much fun to just be able to play the base game. At this time, the internet was also introduced in the computer lab.
Interesting. That means people never really back then properly played the actual World of Warcraft. That's interesting. Shit, maybe that's the reason I had no friends. Coming to the realization that you are the dick. Or were the dick.
At school. So, like everywhere else in the world, instead of actually learning how to use Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, or the basics of Python, instead everyone in the class would play Flash games. Of course, sites like Miniclip, Newgrounds dominated with their edgy games, with one of the most popular ones being Bubble Trouble. But some of the more locally recognizable sites were Freb.com and Poki.hu, where there were more Flash games than you knew what to do with them all. A popular one because of the multiplayer was Fireboy and Water Girl, which was a co-op puzzle platformer where the players had to solve puzzles to allow the others to enter different chambers on the map and collect all the gems. But of course, although these games were great, there were also masterpieces such as the Pilsner game, where 9-year-olds collected falling beer bottles while a PNG of a woman stripped.
Ain't no fucking way. True. So true.
And of course, the greatest digital gem, Bošnju 2D. And yeah, those were just some of the games popular in our childhood. Let me know which game did I miss and which were your favorites.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Balkans had interesting games they played back then, but I played a lot of these games too in like 2006, 07. So yeah, that's fun. I have a little kick of nostalgia. Oh, I know that one with the beer. I've not played that one. I also didn't really get to play many Flash games because we got internet very late. But yeah. Anyways, that was interesting. Like, comment, and subscribe.